So good evening classmates and good evening Doc Marmelo. I am Princess Enya and I will be reporting the cloud computing. Before we start, here are some of the learning objectives you could gather from our discussion. So first, to identify and understand cloud computing. Second, to identify the types of cloud services. Third, to understand how cloud computing works. Fourth, to know the uses of cloud computing. Fifth, to assess why cloud computing is important. Six, to identify the benefits and disadvantages of cloud computing. And seven, to assess if cloud computing is secure. So ano nga ba yung cloud computing? And for those na hindi gaanong familiar kung ano ba si cloud computing, we're going to tackle that uh, on this discussion. So cloud computing has become an increasingly attractive option for growing businesses. Some companies, rather than hiring more IT employees or invest in an IT infrastructure, they are turning to renting a uh, cloud service that they need for their business operations. Many find cloud computing lowers their cost while increasing their ability to scale and innovate. So, yung question dito is, what exactly is cloud computing? So, based sa definition sa internet, cloud computing is the delivery of different services through the internet. These resources include tools and applications like data storage, servers, databases, networking, and software. Rather than keeping files on a proprietary hard drive or local storage device, cloud-based storage makes it possible to save them to a remote database. As long as an electronic device has access to the web, it has access to the data and the software programs to run it. So basically, the concept behind cloud computing is simple. Para ka lang gumagamit ng computer applications over the internet nang hindi bumibili or nag-i-install or nagmamanage ng own servers nyo or nung business na yon. You can run your company's IT operations gamit lamang ang iyong browser and internet connection. Yung applications, operating system, servers, and network switches all reside out of sight the internet and are managed by your cloud computing vendor or the provider. Next is history of cloud computing. So, cloud computing has its origins in the 1960s, though the term has been in use for only about 20 years. Computing as a service, as it was previously known, came to a life when businesses first began to rent time on a mainframe from computing bureaus. This was before personal computing became affordable. And cloud computing began to take its current form soon after nung sumikat na yung mga internet, then mabilis na sumunod or nasundan ng e-commerce. Yung concept noong 1919 ng B2B or business to business application service providers or ASPs was precursor to today's business SaaS or yung tinatawag natin na software as a service providers. Shortly after that, business began to collect and manage exponentially large volumes of data, and consumers began to use multiple connected devices in their daily lives. So today, the cloud computing market is on a rapid upward trajectory for businesses of all sizes. Ayon sa prediction ng Gartner, by 2024, more than 45% of traditional IT spending is expected to shift to the cloud. So Gartner Incorporated is a technological research and consulting firm based in Stamford, Connecticut, that conducts research on technology and shares this research both through private consulting as well as executive programs and conferences. Yan, as per Wikipedia. Next naman po is types of cloud computing. So, sa types ng cloud computing, not all clouds are the same and not one type of cloud computing is right for everyone. Several different models, types, and services have evolved to help offer the right solution for the needs of the businesses. First, you need to determine the type of cloud deployment or yung cloud computing architecture para malaman kung anong fit na model or anong type ng deployment yung kailangan para dun sa business na meron ka. So, here is a breakdown of the 4 deployment options available to businesses today. First is the public cloud. Computing resources are shared among companies and reside on the internet. Perhaps ito yung pinaka mas kilala or mas sikat na cloud computing model. Public clouds are multi-tenant, which means customers share computing resources including hardwares, applications, and development platforms that are delivered on demand. So resources are accessed via web browser and managed by third-party cloud providers or vendor, which have significant computing power and storage capabilities. Next na meron is the private cloud. Only one company access a private cloud which resides behind internal firewalls. So unlike the public cloud, private cloud deployments is karaniwang ginagawa ng isang business kasama yung data nila behind internal firewalls. All resources are dedicated to one business only. This is an attractive option for companies that manage sensitive data or that deal with complex regulatory frameworks. But private clouds have some limits. The main one is that few businesses have the ability to grow their private clouds on the same scale as a public cloud provider. That said, private cloud deployments are popular entry point into cloud computing, with many companies eventually moving to a hybrid or public cloud model. Since nabanggit na hybrid, next po natin is the hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud companies use both public and private clouds with data shared between the two. So many businesses using the cloud today opt for a hybrid model in which part of their data and services reside in the public cloud, while sensitive data and projects reside in a private cloud. Some data and services are shared between clouds. In this way, yung companies nakukuha na both benefits nung parehas na types ng cloud deployment. So, the scalability of a public cloud deployment and the control of a private environment kung saan yun yung kailangan ng company. So, most of the companies using hybrid cloud are mga financial service institutions, healthcare providers, public sector companies, and other organizations that manage confidential data tend to gravitate toward hybrid models so they can keep innovating while evolving at their own security or secure pace. Lastly, or yung pang-apat na cloud computing deployment is multi-cloud. Companies use multiple cloud providers. As the name dun sa name, di ba, multi. Yan. Businesses that opt for multi-cloud deployment use several cloud services from different providers. Some companies choose this option because they don't want to be locked into one vendor or provider. Others prefer different sets of applications for different operational needs from different vendors. So, parang sa ano yun, sa pag-i-invest, 'di ba? Sa yung mga financial advisors lagi sinasabi na don't put your savings or investment in one basket, 'di ba? May options tayo or may pwede tayo mamili kung saang different ah, basket tayo magi-invest. So, parang ganito dito sa multi-cloud, wag mo siya ibuhos sa isa kasi any moment or anytime na merong aberya dun sa provider na yun, panigurado bagsak yung system ng company mo. Unlike kung dineploy mo siya using multi-cloud sa iba't ibang providers, at least one-fourth or half lang yung mababali dun sa sistema ng iyong business. So, multi-cloud deployments also ensure a certain level of redundancy. So an issue at one cloud vendor will affect only a portion of the business IT capabilities. Oops. So next, how does cloud computing work? The cloud is a decentralized information technology environment where compute services and digital information are shared. Cloud computing services are accessed via web, browser, or mobile app with an internet connection rather than through a company's own network. The vendor is responsible for the application, data storage, the underlying operating system, its servers, the physical data center infrastructure, and installing security updates and feature upgrades. So customers manage endpoints and login rights, so employees access only the data and services to which they are entitled and pay as they go for services, typically on a subscription basis. Cloud computing allows businesses to access powerful computing and or storage capabilities via the internet. Just like tenants who pay rent for an apartment but don't own it. 'Di ba? Rent lang yung na-access nila. Rent lang sila. Pero sila yung gumagamit ng apartment, pero for rent lang, hindi sila yung may-ari nun. So companies pay to access the cloud for what they need, typically on a subscription basis. Yan, like what I said earlier. Next is cloud computing uses. So, cloud computing offers companies a way to access and tailor IT system for a specific set of needs, whether internally man yan, or for customers, or purely for the operations ng business lang. New use cases emerge each day, but following are some of the most common cloud computing applications that apply to virtually any industry. So first is the data storage and backup. So businesses have never had more data about their customers or operations, and all signs point to exponential growth for data collection in the future. By storing this information in the cloud, companies don't have to keep expanding their own storage capacity. Next naman po is the data collection and analytics. Dito is companies can gain invaluable insight from their data. But the challenge is consolidating information from different sources into one repository. So the cloud can make it simpler to unify data from different teams and resources to gain a holistic view of the company. For procurement teams, cloud-based data on vendor relationships ensure one-time payment and project delivery. For retailers, this translates to a better understanding of customers across uh, channels and touch points. And the list goes on. Next is breakdown departmental silos. So by bringing together data from different sources, cloud computing promotes information and idea sharing. Such interdepartmental, integrated business planning and collaboration is the backbone of successful business operations. For instance, alignment of data and process between HR and finance team is crucial to accurate reporting and employee management. Next is improved data security. While some organizations have built a robust security around their data, many businesses simply lack the expertise, computing power, or budget to adequately protect information. Leading cloud providers have the resources to configure first-rate data security architectures across their data centers, network, and software. Companies that sell software-based services also update and patch their code for every customer simultaneously and immediately. Next is deliver services on demand. This benefit lies at the heart of cloud computing, in which businesses and consumers alike can access what they need when they need it. There are there are a variety of ways to services to be delivered depending on what nature and sensitivity of information involved. Customers subscribe to these services, paying only what they use. Last po is the test and build new services and features. Application building and testing require significantly more computing power than everyday business operations, especially when emerging technologies like uh, machine learning are involved by testing and building new services and features in a cloud environment. Companies can reduce their development costs. They can also scale their cloud investments based on their current computing power and data storage. And so, who uses cloud computing? It can be used in virtually every industry and every department of a modern organizations. For example, sa finance team or finance department, they use ERP or enterprise resource planning cloud systems to track and monitor business performance. And for the HR department, they use cloud platforms to manage the employee experience from payroll to performance reviews. Sa marketing department naman, they use the customer relationship management or CRM and analytics software and the cloud to get closer to customers and engage them with more personalized communications. Next is, why is cloud computing important for businesses? So we have um, financial, operational, and strategic. The importance of cloud computing for businesses can be divided into three categories. So overall financial benefits come from cost savings on IT infrastructure and management. Operational benefits include improved data access and collaboration among employees. And for strategic benefits, it relates to ways companies can use the cloud to boost productivity, scale their offerings, and ultimately gain competitive advantage. An added financial incentive or benefit for businesses is they can treat their cloud computing spend as operating expenditures or OPEX rather than capital expenditures or CAPEX because they are paying for a service rather than a physical asset. This, in turn, lets them spread out their IT costs over time instead of being handcuffed to short-term budgetary constraints. Subscription model pricing also make IT spending more predictable and accurate in a forecast, eliminating hidden or unplanned IT expenses such as when a server issue or a security breach occurs. Next is the benefits of cloud computing. So under cost, with public cloud computing, businesses eliminate the direct cost of purchasing, maintaining and upgrading on premises hardware and software. They also save time and cost of paying staff who would handle those responsibilities. Cloud computing shifts the what was once a capital expense, the cost of physical IT infrastructure, to an operating expense, since users pay only for what they use, since it is based on a subscription. This makes costs more predictable and frees budget for other endeavors more relevant to the business. And of course, the company needs to keep an eye out for over provisioned and idle or fund resources. Under agility naman is cloud computing lets businesses purchase and deploy a range of powerful applications and services in minutes. Such agility helps them innovate quickly and stave off competition by providing access to powerful computing capabilities and expertise that growing companies once could not have hoped to afford. So users can quickly set up the storage and analytics engines they need to roll out a range of services, but it SaaS operating system for wearable devices or a company-wide data lake to support machine learning and AI algorithms. Next is the scalability. Cloud computing makes it possible for any size businesses to build services quickly and scale in line with customer demand. Businesses simply pay for more storage, greater computing power, and new features as their offerings evolve, demand increases, and they branch into new markets. For example, a logistics provider that wants to expand into foreign markets simply has to invest in a new cloud license and storage capabilities with no need to build new IT infrastructure of their own. Next, under performance, with cloud computing, users can tap into service providers' substantial computing power as needed. Cloud services can adjust dynamically to a company's performance requirements, automatically assigning server power during spikes in demand and dialing back power during quieter periods. So, example dito is the Shopee and Lazada sales. So, yung mga 6677. Yan. When online retailers discount their goods and services to jumpstart the holiday sales or the monthly sales, without additional computing power during the 24-hour period, their e-commerce sites could back up from surge in traffic. Then yung isa sa mga benefit ng cloud computing under performance. Next naman is speed. Compared with on-premises solutions, cloud computing services are simple to set up and roll out. Indeed, access to resources is just a few clicks away. The speed to market with new products enabled by cloud is also competitive advantage. Whether introducing a new application or adding a new features. Reliability of cloud computing services stand out for their reliability and availability. Vendors typically mirror their customers' data to ensure business continuity and disaster recovery. Cloud software is also designed for optimal network performance, which means vendors generally deliver better application availability than equivalent systems built in-house. In the case of critical services like email or enterprise collaboration platforms, businesses tend to rely on cloud-based providers for management so they can focus on core strategic initiatives. Productivity ng cloud computing system can help companies remove data silos to teams can more easily collaborate. For instance, in companies where finance and HR departments work closely to manage employees' performance and payroll, cloud-based ERP system integrated with the cloud HR software can create a data bridge between departments. Data access has also become more relevant as more businesses embrace remote or hybrid working models, allowing employees to work productively and securely from any location. Under security, data security, backup, disaster recovery, and data loss prevention are growing concerns for businesses. And it's a good reason. But many lack the expertise or resources needed to secure their data from end to end. Cloud-based providers offer a level of security that few businesses can match or afford, especially for growing organizations with limited financial resources. And lastly, under sustainability, just like commuters taking a bus or jeep to work is better for the environment than each person driving a car. Cloud computing cuts down on the amount of equipment needed if each company were to build everything itself. Among the benefits are less energy consumed and a smaller carbon footprint. In fact, cloud computing could help keep 1 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide emissions out of the atmosphere by 2024. Ito ay according to the market researcher ng IDC. And after the benefits, we have syempre the disadvantage of cloud computing. So, lagi pong may pros and cons pagdating sa mga technology or innovation para sa mga businesses. So, while the cloud offers many benefits, businesses must be mindful about a few disadvantages. Generally, this relate to a new cost structures and the risk of not choosing the right cloud deployment for data security and compliance. So, better inaaral po talaga maigi or pinaplano kung ano ba talaga yung well-fitted na cloud computing deployment para dun sa business or sa company na yun. So, first disadvantage is the cost over time. So, while the upfront cost of cloud computing is significantly lower than for the outright purchase of IT infrastructures or IT employees or IT systems, cloud services are not necessarily less expensive over 3 to 5 years because there is no depreciation. As a result, some companies may choose to buy an on-premises solution for long-term software requirements and pair it with a cloud-based approach to support new product development and innovation. Second is loss of competitive edge. By using the same applications available to companies, some leaders believe they are giving up a competitive advantage. In these cases, many choose to purchase core business applications like productivity, HR, and accounting software as a cloud services and devote development efforts to the secret source. So, technology specific to the business. Example, might be a personalized engine for an online retailer or a GPS-based routing system for a delivery firm. Third is data controls. So, though the cloud is well established, some businesses still prefer to host their sensitive data on site. This is largely due to security, compliance, and control concerns. Siyempre, not every business wants to share a cloud platform with competitors or is allowed to do so by regulators. Fourth is the complex migration. Unlike dun sa mga startups or yung dun sa mga na umpisa pa lang nagbi-build ng at uh, nagbi-build pa lang ng kanilang mga business, legacy companies or yung mga established na companies needed to untangle the complex web of IT systems and infrastructure they have built over the years before migrating them to a cloud platform. Migrating to the cloud can pose challenges, including the need to rewrite applications and find the right staff expertise. Without a clear plan at the outset, migration to the cloud can become complicated, time consuming, and mostly expensive. Switching cloud providers in getting your data out of one cloud into another is not always straightforward because we're not sure to understand how you we're not sure if they understand how your data will be provided to you if you decided not to renew the service. Next is cloud security. As more companies conduct business online and head to the cloud, cybersecurity has become a growing concern. While it can be daunting to hand over the data security and compliance responsibility to an external vendor, the truth is that many cloud providers are better equipped to keep sensitive data and intellectual property secure compared with the individual companies. So, question is cloud computing secure? Is cloud computing secure? Leading cloud computing vendors have built up years of IT security experience and commit best-in-class protection to their customers' data that most organizations would struggle to develop in-house. A multitude of cloud security tools have also come to market in recent years that help safeguard data and block attackers. These technologies are specifically designed to track data as it moves between on-premises and cloud systems. In a hybrid deployment model or between cloud applications in a multi-cloud stack. To complement their IT security measures, businesses should train employees to understand the security implications of cloud computing and what are the factors needed protection mechanism into their daily operations. Yan. So, that's the answer if cloud computing is secured or not. Also, cloud computing in consumer and versus business, cloud computing is now part of most people's daily lives. from streaming music from Spotify to viewing movies on demand uh, from a video streaming platforms like Netflix to using an email service such as a Gmail. Cloud computing has freed consumers and their hard drives from storing files locally. And because data resides on remote servers in the cloud, we can get to our music or email from any device, anywhere. Many cloud providers charge a monthly fee for their services with tiered options that correlate to, for example, the amount of storage needed or the number of devices accessing the files. Businesses also rely on the cloud for storage along with related data backup and recovery features. But that's only part of the picture. For companies, the cloud also serves as a high performing computing environment designed to support complex operations. Cloud computing supplants the need for a business to purchase its own expensive IT infrastructure and hire staff to maintain it. The cloud also provides a platform for application development. With the cloud provider handling the IT heavy lifting, businesses can instead focus on reaching their strategic goals. So sa cloud computing, you're in control. So best of all, cloud computing lets you focus on your business rather than on your software. You don't have to use valuable IT resources to keep business systems on life support. Instead, you can redeploy them to focus on more strategic business initiatives while leaving your cloud computing vendor to worry about scalability, security, uptime, application maintenance, and system upgrades. And you can be confident in taking your business public or into new regions of the world without outgrowing your cloud computing resources thanks to the world-class data centers typically provided by the cloud computing vendors or providers. And unlike traditional on-premises IT systems or the cloud is everywhere, companies can access their cloud-based applications and data from anywhere, regardless of which vendors or provider supplies their solutions or where its servers are located, and using different devices. The software and services are hosted by the vendor or provider and provided as a service to businesses and deliver the same or better functionality as on-premises systems without most of the downsides like upfront licensing fees or the need to maintain hardware. Cloud is especially useful for managing a distributed team. Consider an energy company whose field engineers move around constantly and need real-time access to grid data to fix outages, or a supply chain operation whose managers require a centralized view of supply, demand, and inventory on their mobile phones. Cloud computing takes physical and operational barriers out of the equation so companies can run in a more integrated and efficient way. So that's all for my report. And here's my references. And thank you. Again, I'm Princess Senya.